Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you all for coming in time. I'm going to introduce you to a very interesting person, Rohan. He's an accomplished growth marketer. He's actually a complete package of marketing. He started very early in his career. He's been recognized across the globe. He has a few books, which is the best-selling books on growth marketing. Very specifically, why we wanted to get Rohan on this email masterclass was his experience in getting results out of cold emails, which we have seen from our own eyes. And we thought this is the best platform to share this expertise, share a few tips and secrets that Rohan uses. So one thing which comes out very distinctly about Rohan is that he's a complete package of marketing. He can talk about technology, he can talk about marketing, he can talk about psychology, and he can also talk about the sales part of it, which is, I think most of you are looking at how do you use email as a marketing platform to get sales for you, for your business, for your team. So this is going to be very interesting 1 hour. The way that we are structuring is that it's going to be a 45-minute session from Rohan, who's going to take you through the 5 steps. He's going to unravel. A big warm welcome to Rohan, all the people who have come on this webinar. Rohan, over to you. Rohan is figuring out, stuff here. A little bit about Rohan. He's also a world record holder, and he knows how to take things to community, how to selflessly help others. And that's the reason that Rohan has been extremely successful in terms of growth hacking, growth marketing, because he used 2 tactics which I have seen, or rather 2 strategies, I would say, or 2 philosophies. One is to partner with, it's like complementary partnership, which has worked really well for him. And the other is building the community and nurturing the community and ensuring that the community actually shares a lot of lessons within each other and help each other out in terms of business. So those are 2 things which I have seen personally giving him a lot of success.
Let's begin. So first of all, thank you so much everyone for joining in. This is a collaboration between me and KleanMail. KleanMail is a data hygiene tool. They do email verification. And since they were doing cold email marketing for themselves, and I've been doing it for so many clients, we thought, okay, why not collaborate on a topic and try to teach our peers what we have been doing, and also at the same time learn from everyone else. We'll have a quick masterclass showing you our processes, and then we'll open it for everyone to discuss with us what they have been doing, if they have already been doing cold emailing, or if they have any questions to get started with cold emailing. A quick intro about me. I've been, like Peter said already, I've been a best-selling author for the Growth Hacking book. We have made a world record with this book. I also co-founded International Growth Hacking Day, and I specialize helping the early stage startups get their first 100 to 100,000 users, customers, or community members. I'm also the moderator of the Growth Hacking subreddit. So I have this one request for you. For the next 20 minutes, if you can just turn off your phones and try to just have your focus on this masterclass and note down everything that you learn. So if you're already, let's say, been doing cold emailing, you already know some stuff, but then you can always find new information. And if you're a beginner, you can just learn from here, and whatever you think that it's interesting for you, I would suggest take a screenshot, and at the end of the masterclass, share it on your LinkedIn. I encourage you to take as many notes as you can, and then later share it with your LinkedIn followers so they can also benefit out of this masterclass. Next, please. All right, so you may wonder why cold emailing or why email marketing, right? And it actually made me think about this when clients were complaining that they are substantially seeing the marketing budgets shrinking in their own organizations, and the cost for acquiring users or customers or leads per se is incrementally going high. And I was like, okay, why is this happening? One of the reasons could be that since the pandemic, all of a sudden we have so many businesses coming online, and then everyone trying to fish from the same pond. So imagine it with an analogy of you have a pond. When you have fewer people fishing for the fishes, you are likely to catch more fishes. However, if the number of fishermen increases in your pond, everyone is going to get less fishes, right? So that's the reason you see the cost of your leads going up when you're trying to run ads on Facebook, Google, etc. The second problem I saw was it's very easy now to get deplatformed from certain social media sites. For example, you may have seen that even the governments of the world are getting deplatformed from major big tech. And that only makes us concerned that as regular users, how much control do we have on these platforms? And what can we really do if, let's say, the next day Facebook decides to take away your ad accounts for whatever reasons, and you may have no recourse to really have any say on that decision. The other thing I realized was, again, during the pandemic, in countries like India, a platform like TikTok gets banned, and so many people with millions of followers or people running ads on TikTok can no longer do that because the government decided similar conditions now in Russia. There's no access to meta platforms, and that makes me wonder that, okay, if I had to place bets on one digital platform that cannot be banned by the governments in my country, or the reverse of it, that means the platforms cannot ban you, is email, because email is one thing that would never get banned, right? Even if your email account gets blocked, there are always ways to either get it unblocked or create a new email account. So there are options. It's not a permanent condition, right? And lastly, the third most popular method of marketing was SEO and content marketing. It still works, it's still great, and I think the best form of organic marketing. However, if you're a really early stage startup, or maybe a startup that is just starting out with their content marketing efforts, you can't really place all your bets on SEO because you don't know how much time the SEO is going to take to start showing you the results. Similarly, if you're trying to use social media to market your business, again, the same problem. It may take time to build an audience so that you can market to them, right? So what's the solution? What's one digital platform which is the most cost effective, which cannot ban you, which your governments cannot ban? You see the results instantly. It's just one: email marketing. So what I'll do in this masterclass is I'll take you through the steps of how you can get started with email marketing. And these are just 5 simple steps, some of which you may already know. But then what's important is for us to understand the tool stack behind it and the strategy behind it. So let's go through each of these steps one by one and see what are the best practices of each of them. Next, please. Okay. So we start email marketing by first thinking of who you're going to send emails to, right? So the number one step would be, even before you think of any technical setup, you would first think of who are you going to really send these emails to, and what is the offer that you're going to have. Cold emailing cannot be limited just to getting sales for your product or business. It could also be a stepping stone for your career. Maybe you could be emailing some founders or HRs to have some position at some company, or maybe you're a podcaster, you want to invite certain guests to your podcast, or it could be simply for maybe networking with the peers in your industry. The reasons could be different for different people to do cold emailing, but the fundamental steps that we are going to see in this masterclass remains the same for everyone. The first step would be to identify your ICP. ICP stands for Ideal Customer Profile. That means who are these people who you're trying to reach out to. The best platform for me to really distill down the profiles that I want to reach out to is LinkedIn. Although you may have like different platforms that do provide information, but for me, for most of the cases, I try to stick to LinkedIn, especially LinkedIn Sales Navigator, because it comes with these powerful filters of identifying or filtering people based on their industries, job titles, locations. One good thing about LinkedIn Sales Navigator is they're constantly updating their filters. They keep adding new things. Once you have decided what's your ICP, we move on to the second step. that's building your email list. So once you have decided, okay, these are the people who I've filtered, how do I build this list? That means, how do I get the email IDs of these people? There are two ways to do it, either buying the list or scraping the list. In terms of buying the list, it's similar to using tools like seamless.ai, but my recommendation would be to build your own list so that you are aware of where you have scraped them from or what filters you have used. It's much more easier to explain it to people when you start reaching out to them, like how did you find them versus just buying it from a tool, right? And also it gives you kind of a control of what filters you want to apply. Similarly, you know that, okay, this data was freshly taken out of LinkedIn. However, when you're buying from someone, the data could be really old and you never know what was the source of it, right? So it kind of is like you don't really know the source of it. So if someone asks you, like, how did you find me? You're not going to say your prospect that, hey, I purchased your data from someone, right? So it's kind of weird. So I always recommend build your own list. There is a poll that we would run asking you questions. So we'll just quickly launch the poll. I'll take a pause for 30 seconds and then we'll get started again. Can we have the poll, please? All right. The first question is, what describes you the best? Are you agency owner or a consultant or freelancer, a startup employee, a startup founder? Or if you don't fit into these four options, you have the fifth one. That is other. If you have chosen the other category, let us know in the chats. How do you describe yourself? Interesting. Majority of them are consultants, freelancers, and startup employees. All right. So most of us are consultants, freelancers, and startup employees. So I'm assuming that you guys may be doing cold emailing day in and day out. We'll find out with the next poll. Can we have the next poll, please? How familiar are you with cold emailing? So the first option is haven't tried yet. The second is you're just getting started. And the third is you're an expert. You have been doing this for years. All right, so majority of attendees seem to be getting started, or they have not started yet, but they want to. Awesome. So we have people who will have major takeaways from this event. Also, we have 7% experts. So we can always try to brainstorm and see how they are running cold email campaigns for their organizations and if there is any scope for improvement there. All right. So let's get back to the second step, that is building your list. My recommendation is that you build your own list instead of buying lists from tools or vendors. One of the most popular methods of building your list is taking it from LinkedIn. Some people may be confused between actually having a newsletter list and a cold email list, right? So with newsletters, what you're doing is you're essentially having some kind of lead magnet or a blog from where you're collecting the newsletter subscribers. And newsletters are a little different than cold email because newsletters is a series of emails that you have been sending to your own email list. And with cold email, you're trying to reach out to people who have not explicitly subscribed to your list, but you want to reach out to them either for business purposes or networking purposes, inviting them to your podcast or whatever, right? So with cold emails, you need to build your list. This is essentially not an opt-in list. This is something that, like, you kind of your dream clients that you want to reach out to. So you create a list. I personally create my list using LinkedIn Sales Navigator to really find the accounts that we want to reach out to. So let's say, for example, if I'm trying to find all the founders, maybe in Bay Area, I filter them through the Sales Navigator. And once I have already applied my filters of the seniority level or specific places in Bay Area or the kind of industry I want these founders to belong to, then we use a tool called SMB Toolkit that allows us to scrape these emails and we get the actual email IDs of people, not guessed emails that the tools like Hunter.io provide you with a combination of people's first name and domains. They try to guess emails and then verify. These are not that. These are the actual email IDs of people on LinkedIn, and you can get unlimited of them. At the end of the presentation, I'll show you the entire tool stack. But for now, just know that there's a tool to scrape LinkedIn and it gives you unlimited emails for a fixed price. I'll let you know at the end of the webinar. Let's go on to the next one, the step 3. So now you have identified who you want to send emails to, and then you have created an email list. Now the third step is, once you have the email IDs of people, how do we verify this is an email that is still valid? A lot of time what happens is on LinkedIn, when we put in our email IDs, sometimes we end up using our business IDs or we end up mentioning our business IDs. And the problem with business IDs is that they can get expired, right? Maybe you change the domain or you change your job profile, your business ID might change, right? And that ends up making that email ID not valid. Or maybe sometimes some people sign up to email clients like Gmail or Yahoo and then abandon their profiles, and these profiles are inactive, old, spam traps, and whatnot. So you need to remove all of the unclean data and pick up the emails that are really valid and active right now. Although we are scraping active and valid emails from LinkedIn, but there are high chances that even within that data, you may have spam traps or inactive emails or emails that are not currently deliverable, right? So we use an email verification tool. This is something that a lot of people miss out. They are experts, they run cold email every single day, but they kind of want to skip this process. I think this is the most important process of cold emailing. I'll explain you why. So essentially, when you're emailing email ID, which is a spam trap, or it's inactive, or it's not deliverable, every time you send a message, consider it has losing points. And eventually, if you send out a lot of emails to inactive emails, your overall reputation will degrade and your emails will start going into spam. So that's the reason they recommend to keep your spam rate like less than 3%. And the most important step to enable this is to verify the emails. One of the tools that I personally use is KleanMail. I found that in my experience, the only tool that I found had 3 things that I was looking for in an email verification tool. Number 1 was how fast they can process my big lists. Number 2 was how accurate they are. Like, instead of just saying that, okay, this is a catch-all email and do not email them, they actually tell you that which of these catch-all emails are also deliverable and not deliverable. And then they give you a lot of other data and parameters of whether the email is safe to be sent or not safe. So I like the data points that the KleanMail provides. The number 3 is, it's the most affordable option that I've come across, at least so far. The pricing, when I compare it with all the major players, for the quality of data and the number of data points that I get from KleanMail, stands out from the rest. So that's this third step for us, to clean our email lists so all our emails get safely delivered in the inbox. Let's see the fourth step. The fourth step is building the email infrastructure to ensure your emails are not going into spam, but actually in the inboxes of your prospects. The number 1 thing that you should consider when you're trying to start cold emailing is to never ever use your primary ID. Say if Biju works at KleanMail, he wouldn't use biju@cleanmail.com to send emails. The reason being, in the first slide, I told you that there is a possibility of getting your domain blocked someday, but then that block is not permanent. You can always create a new subdomain and restart the process, right? So we either take a new domain or we create a subdomain and then create your email ID out of it, but never ever use your primary ID, because if it gets blocked in the future for whatever reasons, it would be difficult to recover it. It can be recovered. It's not that you cannot recover it. It can be recovered, but it's just to keep your primary ID safe. You would not send cold emails using your primary ID. You would create a new domain or a subdomain. The second step is to set up your SPF, DKIM, and DMARC records. We won't go into like much details. We actually have some learning resources for you that we'll share after the masterclass, showing you how exactly to do this and get into the each steps. But for now, what's important for you to know, since majority are either getting started with cold emails or they want to get started with cold emails, for now, just understand that these records have to be set so that you avoid going into junk or spam folders. Now, the third thing you have to do is warm up your new IDs. So when you get a new domain and create your email ID, you must start warming them up. Now, some people may already be aware of what email warm up is. And for those who are not aware, so very quickly in one sentence, if I have to define what email warm up is, it's essentially trying to show this ID is fairly active and it's a human ID and it wasn't just created with the purpose of spamming people. So you would use that ID to maybe interact with your colleagues. You may use that ID to sign up to certain newsletters. And then there are certain warm-up tools that you can use to change emails with other real IDs. The reason this is done is to essentially try to mimic the behavior of a regular inbox. I would suggest or recommend using certain warm-up tools. Two tools that I personally use. Number one is Lemlist, and Lemlist has this feature called Lemwarm. It's like they have their own pool of users, and those users interact with each other and send emails back and forth. So it mimics how a real inbox would look like. The second tool that I've found is First Sales. So these are the two tools that I've identified are best when it comes to warm up and also sending emails. So essentially what happens with cold emails is it's kind of a volume game as well. So let's say you cannot expect emailing 5 or 10 people and then thinking that you may get some good results. You must think of scale, let's say a few initial message copies of giving you good results. Say I start by sending out 50 emails and I figured that, okay, my subject line, email copy, and everything looks okay. The response rate is great. Then I want to use the same copies with minor alterations and send it to a bigger batch. So you would want to automate it because it's humanly impossible to send out hundreds of emails. And then if you want to scale further, you can have multiple inboxes, say 100 per day from each of these inboxes. And then there are very sophisticated email automation tool that help you mimic how a real inbox would look like. So think of it like how you use your regular inboxes. You may wake up in the morning, go to your office or work from home, logging into your email, trying to maybe use it until the evening and then logging off, right? So this exact schedule, you can automate it using some kind of email automation tools. There are two tools that I personally the same, Lemlist and First Sales. We'll talk more about the tool stack at the end of the masterclass. I have a slide dedicated to it. But for now, all you need to know is that this process can be automated. Once you have written good copies, all you need is just sending them out with a automation tool. And lastly, it's checking how your emails are getting delivered. So some stats would be shown on the Lemlist dashboard or First Sales dashboard. And then there are certain external tools like log apps, or for Gmail, we have Postmasters by Gmail that actually helps you track the spam, etc. Let's see the next step. That is step 5, which is more to do with what do you exactly write in your emails. Just a quick recap. You have identified who you want to email. You have scraped the list from LinkedIn. You have cleaned the email list, so you have valid emails to send emails to. And then the fourth step was you have set up an automation to send out the emails. And you have turned on the warm up as well to improve your deliverability. And now we are trying to learn what are the best practices for email copywriting. The number one thing that I would suggest is start by like shooting really low volume emails, like maybe send it to 20 people, 50 people to really test how people are responding to your copies or your subject lines, and then pick the winning subject lines or copies and use it for scaling the campaigns. The second recommendation I have for you is do not use the same copies throughout your campaign. That means, let's say if you want to send 5,000 emails or 10,000 emails, don't try to stick with the same copy for the entire campaign. Keep changing them or make some changes to it, some alterations, so that it doesn't look like you're trying to send the same email over and over. It's kind of like spammy behavior, right? The third recommendation that I have for you is try to avoid spam words. So there is a list of certain words that you should avoid in your emails that can trigger spam filters to block your emails. So think of it like during the holiday season, everyone is trying to blast emails to make you buy stuff, and most of the times they would write copies like hurry up or offer valid till this date or buy now, click here. All of these are spam words. And now you may be questioning, how do I identify that these are the spam words and I need to avoid them? There's a simple tool that helps you. Just put your copy in that tool and it tells you that, okay, these are the spam words and you need to remove them. At the end of the masterclass, we'll share with you a document just outlining everything that we are sharing here. And in that, you will find a link to this tool using which you can just identify, okay, what are the spam words in your email copies, and you can replace them with something more original. Number 5 or 4, I forgot the count. Try to use only text. A lot of people, when they cold email, try to use bold, italics, and maybe some people also use very heavy HTML as well. I suggest try to keep it simple. Like if I were to speak to you, I would write a regular plain text email, right? So my recommendation is try to keep the emails as simple as you can. Try to have a nice profile picture and signature so that people can identify where the email is coming from. It's like a trust factor, making people open your emails. The next thing, very important, is once you are sending them emails, it is very likely that people forget or people don't check their inboxes very often, right? Or maybe they are too busy. So you have to keep reminding them that, hey, you sent this email earlier and would want to have their response. This is called follow-up. So when you're trying to send follow-up emails, which can be automated using the email automation tools, you should try to offer more value with your follow-ups. So instead of saying that, hey, I sent you an email last week, did you get a chance to have a look at it? Instead of saying that, I would perhaps send a prospect some new case study that, hey, this week I was working on this client. We got this good results out of this campaign that we ran for them. Would you be interested to do the same for your business? So something like which would make people believe that, okay, you're not here to just sell, but have like genuine interest in working with them. At the same time, showing that you are a credible person to speak to them. So that's my advice with follow-ups. The next thing is personalize. You can personalize using 3 ways. Number 1 is text-based personalization. Number 2 is image and video-based. I would say don't get into image and videos when you're starting out with cold emailing. First, start with the regular emails and then slowly advance to images or GIFs in your email copies, and then gradually to video links as well. Generally try to avoid emails to something like info, sales. This is all common knowledge and I believe everyone already avoids that. And yeah, most importantly, try to not link to many resources. If you want to send your website, maybe just send one landing page and don't try to send 5 6 links in the same first, at least not in the first email. And never mask your links. If you have to say, give your website link, instead of saying website and then put a link on it, I would say just put www.cleanmail.com. So show the entire link and usually keep the links little shorter so that they look nice and presentable in your email copies. And the last one, most important, is to have an unsubscribe button to let people opt out, because the list that you're sending emails to is not an opt-in list. And even if it's an opt-in list, let's say your newsletters, you must still have an unsubscribe button always so that people can opt out from receiving your emails. I think we have finished all the 5 steps. Now, I just want to give you a quick rundown on what tools we use. And this is like my entire email marketing tool stack. I don't use anything else than these 4 tools. The number one I told you about was finding the right prospects or customers that I do on LinkedIn using the LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So Sales Navigator is like a premium LinkedIn service which gives you powerful search results with filtrations, etc. So that's the number one tool. The second one is SMB Toolkit. It essentially takes your Sales Navigator filtered results and gives you output, has all the email IDs of people you want to contact. And this is by far the best LinkedIn scraper. Then you must clean them before sending out your campaigns. And that I do using the KleanMail tool. It just helps you with a lot of other data points as well, showing which emails are safe, not safe, deliverable, not deliverable, and a lot more other data points that you should dive into. And then lastly, it's a 2-in-1 tool. You can actually do warm-ups. Plus, you can also automate your emails within the same tool. It's called Lemlist. And if you do not want to use Lemlist, or you maybe want to have some price comparison with similar tools, one other similar tool that I've found is First Sales. It also helps you with the warm-up and the email automation with all the features like sending out automated follow-ups and then having A/B testing copies, your subject lines, etc. So this is exactly my cold emailing tool stack. So we have a quick poll now. If you have already run an email campaign, a cold email campaign, what was your biggest challenge? Was it the email content, like writing email content, or trying to find an email list to send emails to, or trying to identify, okay, who ideally is my prospect? You're confused about that. Or maybe setting up the infrastructure of the warm up, the automation, etc. Or you have figured out everything, but you're not able to scale the campaign. So you're confused with how to scale. All right. So most of our attendees are saying that email content is one of the biggest challenge they have. And the second biggest challenge is email list. We have already addressed these challenges. We have shared the best practices. So you have answers to the challenges that you may have run while sending the cold email campaigns. Okay, so let's take off the poll and open the Q&A session.
Hi, Rohan. No, interesting. We had a last 30 minutes interesting session from Rohan. Guys, we are open for any questions that you may have in the 5 steps that Rohan has prescribed. So this is more prescriptive because then it's coming from the expert. So we would always want to have more prescriptive masterclass, which has always worked. So we're open for questions, and you could ask any technical marketing psychology related questions to Rohan. He's an expert in all these. There was a question before the webinar started. There was somebody who had asked this question, I think, on LinkedIn Live, where we are broadcasting this.
A quick note. So we have 150 people here, and then we also are running it on LinkedIn Live.
Right.
Awesome.
So we have more than 1,000 people attending through various channels. So Tushar Singh is asking, why don't Swiggy and Zomato emails go to spam? They also have very less open rate. So
yeah, so these are essentially, I think transactional emails, right?
Correct.
And maybe marketing emails, and you're receiving it because you are using their app in some way or the other, right? When it comes to cold emailing, you're not essentially sending it to an opt-in list. And since you have, kind of opted in for Swiggy or Zomato on your phones, once in a while, I do see posts from certain people on Twitter really liking how Swiggy or Zomato do their campaigns and copywriting and notifications and emails, etc. So I think there is a good audience which also tries to look if they are getting some deals and discounts and just learn from their copywriting skills. So I think that's the reason it still goes into your inbox, and largely because it's opt-in, it's not cold emailing. Do you
Yeah.
have also something more to add to that, Viju?
Yeah, I think because of the transactional nature of Zomato and Swiggy, most of the emails gets opened and they use a transact org. And that's the reason that it lands in the
Yeah.
inbox. That's the answer that I have.
There's a question asking, can you share any templates? Remember that never ever copy templates from what you find online. The reason being, during the masterclass, you may have heard me that try to use templates that are unique. That means other people should not be using it, or you should not be recurringly using it for 1,000 people, because the unique your template is, the less chances of it going to spam. So think of it, let's say a template is there on the internet and it's ranking on Google. Thousands of other people are using the same template. Imagine what would be the response rate, right? And even if, let's say, maybe some of your prospect may have already come across it. So it's best that you use your own thoughts and write your own templates. But yeah, generally for email copywriting, I would suggest try to have 3 paragraphs and make them not longer than 2-3 lines. So try to not write longer than 2-3 lines and not more than 3 paragraphs. Make it very clear. I think the best thing that has worked for us for our own campaigns is we try to ask some people questions or certain details to qualify them for the offer that we have or for the collab we may want to do. So the first email should be merely focused on getting a response. Don't try to oversell or over justify yourself in the first email. Just try to focus and optimize it for response. Once you have got someone's attention and response, then you go on to sharing more details.
There's another question, Rohan. Since you've been managing communities and very, very large communities where you're nurturing. So there's a question from Wasim Mia. So he's asking, how do you keep up your contacts and the community engaged with your email campaign? So what do you typically do there? What's the secret of you nurturing your community?
Most of our community email lists are built out of sharing our lead magnets, and I've seen KleanMail doing the lead magnet distribution as well. So that's how we have grown our newsletter list. Again, it's not cold emailing, it's newsletter. So it's kind of like an opt-in list. If you're adding constant stream of value in someone's life, you're likely to stay in their life forever. But the moment you start bombarding them with too much not relevant information, that's when they would unsubscribe. And getting a few unsubscribe is actually healthy, right? Because they're choosing to opt out and let you know that, okay, I'm not the right audience for you. But if you're getting a higher number of unsubscribe rates, that's probably a sign that you should check what value stream you're providing.
Others Jaiswal has asked, how do we get to know who will be our prospect over LinkedIn for sending emails?
Let's say others first think of what kind of services or product you offer, and then think that who is the right fit for it. For example, for me, if I'm offering growth marketing consulting, for me, the right fit is early stage founders. So I would look for founders on LinkedIn Sales Navigator. And I mostly try to target founders who are first time founders. That means they do not have experience of scaling startups, so they can leverage my skills, and that's based on the seniority level. So that's how I am able to filter founders who are early stage startup founders, and then I would build an email list out of it with the process that I shared with you in the masterclass. So I think it starts by really having a look at what your service or product is, and then trying to think, okay, who would ideally benefit from me, and then going after them by searching them on LinkedIn Sales Navigator.
Great. So another question from Anish here. What are the typical open rates in usual campaign nowadays?
That's a very good question. I would say the open rates largely differ depending on your subject line, who it's coming from. Is it coming from a person? Is it coming from a company profile? Which ESPs you're using? And then there could be many factors into it. Let's say, for example, I could be getting a better open rate being in the marketing industry, and someone in the healthcare might maybe not getting equal rates, right? So I think it differs. You cannot put a standard number against it. If you're getting anywhere from, I would say, 10 to 40%, it's great. That means the email list that you build for yourself is actually responsive. For different industries, there are different open rates, but yeah, just generally speaking, there's no one open rate for all.
Sure, Ron.
Let's keep discussing these and addressing these questions in the community. If you want, we can take one last question and then we take it offline.
So we have a question from Aditi Mishra. She's asking, my target audience is digital marketing agencies. I'm using Sales Navigator, but there is no option to add this industry. What can I do now?
If you're targeting marketing agencies, you can go to LinkedIn Sales Navigator, search for maybe terms like agency owner. Filter for you would be marketing and advertising.
All right, Rohan. So we have few more questions, and as Rohan said, we can take it up on offline on WhatsApp community that we built. More questions, and we're willing to share more assets with all of you and make you more successful in whatever you're doing. If you're beginning something, we could definitely add value to it. Even if you're an expert and you want to kind of optimize certain things, I'm sure that the community is in such a way that there are experts, there are beginners, so it's going to be a good mix of people there.
We want to give you three things. Number one is the community support. So if you're just getting started with cold emailing, or you're already an expert and you want to discuss, come over to our WhatsApp community. So that's one support group that you get. Number two is, like I said, at the start of the masterclass, if you have taken notes from here, maybe take a screenshot of any of our slides and then share it with your followers, share with them what you learned from here. And we would love to gift you 1000 credits for KleanMail to clean your email lists. So that's the second gift we have for you. And the third gift, if you're really keen on scaling your cold email campaigns, you're really focused on growing it, we are having this ongoing offer with KleanMail. You may have heard of something like AppSumo, wherein softwares have their lifetime deals, right? So we have turned KleanMail into a lifetime deal, and you can avail it. We offering you KleanMail credits at a discounted rates. So when I talk about credits, it's essentially like how many emails you can verify out of it. So let's say if you verify one email, that would be considered as one credit. So if you, let's say, take 10,000 credits, you're able to clean a list of 10,000 email IDs. We have this offer going on for KleanMail. It's for $49, we are giving you 100,000 credits. And for $99, we have like 500,000 credits. And then we have higher tier packages that give you even 1 million, 2 million, 3 million as well. For most of the consultants and freelancers, the startup employees that have answered the polls, I see that's the segment that was the majority here. I feel you can hold up to 100,000 to 500,000 credits for you. And if we can just flash it on the screen, the URL on which we can avail these credits. Can we have it on the screen, please? Yeah. So KleanMail.com/LTD. LTD stands for lifetime deal. So in case someone is unaware, lifetime deal means we don't charge you monthly. You can buy it at a discounted rate right now, and it will stay with you forever. That means maybe you don't want to use the credits right away, but you plan to use it. So if you want to avail the KleanMail lifetime deal, you can head over to KleanMail.com/LTD. And again, to just quickly explain you what KleanMail is, it's a email verification tool. So once you have found your ideal customers and you have found out their email IDs, it is very important for you to clean the list. So whether you use KleanMail or any other tool out there, you have to anyways clean email IDs before you start running your cold email campaigns. However, In my experience, I have found out by actually testing all the other tools out there, and I found KleanMail really beating them all in three specific areas. Number one, it's the cheapest solution, but cheapest with highest quality because it gives you more data points than anyone else out there. And lastly, I found that it's really fast. If even if you're like trying to clean big lists, it helps you run it super quickly. And I think on the website, if you go to the homepage of KleanMail, you can actually put one of your email IDs and check the kind of data it gives you, how fast it processes it. I love it. Viju, like, do you have anything to say on the technical front?
Yeah, so we've been giving parameters which are much more than what is existing right now in the market. So we always wanted to make it better than what is existing, and we always want to make it more cost effective because more and more people could use it, because that's what is the breaker or maker for an email campaigns. And because we've been in this industry for last 10 years, so we know that what needs to be done to make the marketing strategy work in terms of email campaigns. So guys, that's from our side, and we would want to continue this conversation, Rohan, as we would have more and more people joining in the community. We would have more help and more sharing that will happen on this community. So I would encourage all of you to join this community and contribute.
I'm open to personally taking each of your questions, anything related to email marketing. And of course, we can also learn from each other and try to brainstorm with any challenges that you are facing with your cold email marketing campaigns. So we'll see you there. Thank you so much for joining in. I hope you liked it. Let us know what you feel about it. Share it on your LinkedIn with your followers, what you learned here, and share your feedback about the masterclass in the WhatsApp group. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rohan, and thank you all of you who have attended and taken time out. We will see you on the WhatsApp group. Thank you so much, and have a good evening, good rest of the day, and good morning for all the people who are joining from rest of the world. Thank you so much. Bye bye.